do it. Remember we were doing this in the backyard at my parents' house when we first started dating?
We were That hurts my head.
So this is how we warm up. But weren't we... Look at that one. Come on, you can get it.
I'm too tired.
It's supposed to do something for you for your speaking. I heard Kayla Betts talking about it. You have to warm your mouth and your face up if we're gonna talk. But all right, guys.
Hi.
Cody here.
Kayla also here.
The first minute of that whole video was us warming up our mouths, making fart noises with my mouth.
Yeah.
Got something?
Got you, boy.
So
B.Bloomed.
B.Bloomed, Lovecast.
Episode number
7.
7. So B.Bloomed YMM.
YMM.
What does the YMM stand for?
Yoga.
Meditation.
Mindfulness.
And we're gonna talk about one of those today. Which one?
Meditation.
That's right. That's a meditation. Om
chanting is definitely an awesome thing to do. But we wanted to talk about meditation specifically today.
What is meditation?
God, there's so many people have their opinions and experiences. It's but I think across the board, people associate it with like extreme relaxation or like quieting the mind, which I don't think quieting the mind's a bad way of talking about it, but you can get your mind pretty quiet after you practice for a while.
For a long time.
Right, but not really. It really depends on the person. Some people can advance pretty quickly. It just depends on how much you're willing to let go of, because the mind is constantly ruminating.
There's so many things up there.
Right, and then, but many of us haven't learned to like create that separation between. This is gonna sound weird. Follow me, but the thoughts and the emotions, and the consciousness that's observing the thoughts and the emotions. Right? Because we can see our thoughts, we can see our emotions. So therefore, what is it that's observing those things? It's the observer versus the observed. Mm-hmm. What is being observed and who's observing it? Right? That's the philosophy behind it.
Right.
And so in meditation, you're learning to create that space between what's observing and the thoughts and the emotions and feelings that are arising. Right? So through meditation, you cultivate and create more of that space. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree, but I think a lot of people might be intimidated by the word meditation because they think that they have to quiet the mind. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
When it's 100% okay to sit down and meditate and have your mind keep wandering. The whole point is that you want to bring it back. You want to bring it back to center. So let it wander, bring it back.
Now that's really good advice, but explain a little more about me. I could go on about it, but what do you think that means to bring it back to center?
Just as simple as like focusing on your breath.
Yeah, so you pick a meditation object, right?
Right. There's different meditations that you can do, bring it back to the object of focus. It could be your breath. It could be a certain chakra. It could be a mantra. It could be.
Yep. Yep. Well said. It could be anything. So what I've learned. So my background in meditation is, if you watch episode 1, I talk about my transformation and her transformation. But during my transformation, it was like an instantaneous realization of the observer versus the observed and what it does to us physically.
Right.
Because if you're negative ruminating all the time, that's going to make you feel and have negative effects on your body. But that brought that awakening of sorts brought me to the Buddhist monastery, working with the monks, learning about meditation, reading the suttas of the Buddha's teachings, and I started practicing, and it's so hard to explain, but you just learn to take anything that's arising and make it into a meditation object. Right? Ooh, that's pretty deep, right? But you start with something simple like the breath.
Right.
Okay? It seems like it's simple at first, but it's like I think it was Headspace. I saw a commercial for Headspace, and they explained it pretty darn well, which is like a monkey, right, that's bouncing around, who hasn't been trained yet to sit, right? Or like I think of an animal, like if it's never been trained to sit, you say sit, it's just like look at you and keep moving around.
What are you talking about, you weird human?
Right. Sit. What does it sit? So the mind's kind of siat, but the mind's kind of like that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So it hasn't been trained. It bounces around and moves around a lot. It has been trained to sit still. But over time, with meditation and focusing on the breath, you give it the breath or a mantra or whatever the object is to give the mind, the monkey, something to play with. And next thing it knows, it's like, oh, I'm sitting. I didn't realize I was sitting. Wow, I was sitting still. So like you give it the breath as something to really for you to focus on, like really intently focus on the breath. And this is hard for people to really understand, like why would you want to do this? Think of it as like shutting down the computer that is your brain. I think it's 200 million bits per second our brain is pulling in, but there's like a center of the brain that only filters so much of that. We can't process all that at once, otherwise we just like
combust.
So meditation, focus on the breath and just watching the thoughts come in and not getting all wrapped up in them and watching them and letting them go and going back to the breath. It's this constant thing of like, okay, when Kayla was talking about being on center earlier, right?
Right.
You're on your breath, a thought comes in about something, you use your mindfulness to see it, and you go, oh, that's right, I don't want to get caught up in that, I'm going to go back to my breath.
But and not holding judgment against yourself, too. So, like, especially when you begin, you have to be patient. You're not going to sit down and master it right away.
So you bring up a really important point, which is when you first start, you're going to be like, gosh, it's like so hard to like stop my mind from wandering. But if you're like sitting there meditating, you're like, oh, dang it, I did it again. You're defeating the purpose. You have to sit down and just let it's okay. It's okay when you go off the breath. Just notice it without being upset and like disappointed, and just bring it back to the breath. And what happens is the brain goes from kind of skipping around in different thoughts and thoughts coming and going, and this pattern of like this faster brainwave pattern, into this more like, okay, I'm on center, then I'm coming up, then I'm coming back. So the brain, like the activity of the mind wandering slows significantly. So it may not
just start with 5 minutes. Don't sit down and be like, I'm going to meditate for an hour, because you probably won't be successful.
Well,
you could, but I think it's important to ease into it as well.
No, I think so
too. For most people.
I mean, you could definitely sit down and do an hour, but I think what you're trying to say is that you can probably get a more productive, if you can get a productive 15 minutes versus a kind of like a struggling one. If you're struggling for an hour, it's better to get a productive 15 minutes than an hour-long struggle, right? So
100%.
Just a matter of sitting down, setting a timer, and just kind of like you have to like desire and want to have that peace of like, just shut down the mind. And scientifically, it's shown to shut down the prefrontal cortex.
We all have so much going on in our heads all the time, and even right now, I can't even think of words because there's so many things going on in my head. So it's so important to just take that time and like focus inward. Like in yoga, yoga means union. So bringing that union within yourself, uniting the breath and the thinking, the thoughts and the breath and all of it, just uniting it as one force.
Beautiful. I love how that you said that. And we were talking about how cool it is when you look at like some of the yoga meditation techniques.
And there's so many different types. There's different apps that you can go look at, that you can download, and they have like apps for stress or meditations for stress, meditations for sleep. If you're looking for more like focused meditations. But sorry, I'll let you continue.
Oh, you're fine. I was just saying, like, because you've studied lots of yoga through your training, and you brought some books home because of your yoga training, and I've been reading the Secrets of Kriya Yoga Revealed, and doing some of those practices, and a lot of those, it's basically Kundalini yoga, Kriya yoga, like the way that they're doing the breath and they're focusing on chakras, and they're like clearing these different, they call them knots, like clearing these chakral paths along the way between the root chakra and the crown chakra, and like the whole idea, like bringing the root energy, the Muladhara energy up and uniting it with the Sahasrara crown energy. That's Kundalini yoga, but it's a lot of focusing on the body and these energy centers, and like working with the prana and doing what's called energy work. And to me, that really strengthens the mind-body connection. And you combine that with some of the Buddhist meditation, with like the 4 foundations of mindfulness are mindfulness of the body, feeling, mind, and mental objects. So if you unite, or the yoga of bringing those 2 things together, is a powerful combination, because if you consider things like the water experiment, where Dr. Emoto blessed this batch of water and froze it, and kind of ignored or even like berated the other water and froze it. And when they looked at the crystals of the water after it had been frozen, the one with like all the loving and the blessed intentions had these perfect geometrical crystalline structures, right? But the other stuff had this really ugly, bulbous, disordered crystalline structure. So what's that telling us here? The intention affected the matter. So when we're like going into our bodies and like doing this Kundalini yoga and really connecting our awareness into these energy, because you can really derive sensations on the body when you're doing Kriya yoga and whatnot. Imagine that. If you think about the water experiment, what's that doing to us? It's
purifying.
It's really healing. It's healing. So, Henry's going poop. So we're gonna wrap this video up here pretty soon. But I think Kayla should talk a little bit about. She ran a half marathon today.
Show did.
Like a boss.
With my good friends, Chris and Sheena and Elise and Tandy. And it was all their first half marathon.
Yeah.
It was awesome. We
pretty
had a great time. So I just wanted to talk. Normally on my long runs, if I run 5 miles or more.
Go ahead.
Henry, hold on.
Do you need help?
No, he said, don't look at my poop.
Oh my gosh. You tell your story, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Do you smell my poop?
Not yet.
So
where are you at, buddy?
I usually will listen to music or a podcast if I'm running 5 or more miles, just because it helps me get out of my own head. It helps me not focus on like if something hurts or if I like want to quit or something. So I did not download my playlist or any podcasts. So we get up to the top of Provo Canyon and I'm like, oh, well, looks like I'm not listening to anything, but I feel
Why couldn't you?
Because my playlist and my podcast, I didn't download them. And there was no service out there. And so I just ran, and I feel like it was a type of meditation. I was forced to focus on my breath. I was forced to focus on like mindful steps, my stride, how I'm moving. I'm moving with intention and purpose. Whereas normally when I run that long, I have something in my ear and I'm just mindlessly running and pushing myself forward. And so it was a really cool experience to run 13.1 miles with no voice in my head, just me.
That's awesome. And I haven't worked out with headphones in a long time because of what you're talking about. Like,
it's really cool.
When I do my workouts on Fridays, I run up and down this hill. It's about a half mile each time. Sometimes not as long as what you did, but the point is when I do it, I try to only breathe through my nose. And that, like, it puts you in this, it puts you in a cool meditative state. Yeah. So, guys, meditation has been scientifically proven to improve your health and your focus and your, it's actually been shown to actually physically in like these practitioners who have practiced for quite a while. And I think even beginners too show a significant decrease in the area of the brain that's responsible for like reaction. So it actually literally decreases your tendency to react, and meditation helps you learn to respond, which is something that helps our relationships more than anything, I think. So, Guys,
make sure if you have questions, comment and let us know if you have questions on meditation, and we can hook you up.
Yep, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, love y'all.
Love you. Be bloomed.
Bye.